It's going to be a dogfight.
Lob for the end zone. He's got a touchdown!
Burrow's a great quarterback. Chase is a great receiver. We knew what type of game it'd be.
Touchdown, Ravens!
Throws it into the end zone.
Oh.
Chase makes the catch. And it looks like the Bengals will go for 2 with 38 seconds to go to try to win the game.
Burrow throws to the end zone. It's incomplete!
We came out on top, but that's all that matters.
The game of the year, one of the best fourth quarters you will ever see. And Lamar Jackson finishing with 4 touchdowns, 3 in the fourth quarter. The Bengals are going to have nightmares of Lamar Jackson because he has been fantastic.
Right, it sounds like a top 3 MVP.
Yeah, we talked 20 minutes in the A block at 8 o'clock, and then Mike T in the back end gave us a gem here that we're going to come back and circle. Because Lamar Jackson's numbers, reigning MVP, this year those numbers are even better. And your MVP, Lamar Jackson, and your MVP is?
Jayden Daniels, Washington Commanders.
Why?
Because the very definition of MVP is the impact he's had. He could be washing the water bottles. He could be doing anything in that organization, and it's been transformational. And you take him out, and they would just be an average team at best. Lamar Jackson's having a great season, but the impact that Jayden Daniels has had on this organization on and off the field as a leader, playing with the poise he has, is the very definition of valuable. And if they beat the Steelers on Sunday, which I think they will, they're going to be in first place in the NFC East with about 7 games to go. Lamar's doing great. He's been there. And RC, I understand your point about he's had the transformational impact, but you take Lamar Jackson out of the Ravens and you take Jayden Daniels out of the Commanders.
Don't you do that, Michael?
Neither one of them be any good.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. The Ravens would still be in the hunt, and the Commanders would just be
in the NFC East. The Commanders wouldn't.
No.
Like what?
The Eagles would be running away.
Didn't these 2 players play each
Bart,
other?
Look at the last
Then
thing.
they play each other.
Here's the thing.
And they may play again.
Like Lamar's playing better than Jayden Daniels. Like, that's the thing. If you're looking for a tiebreaker, like, all the numbers favor him. And I mean, he's thrown as many touchdown passes as he threw all last year. He's only played 10 games.
Yeah, he's 24 right now.
He's played great.
He's better
No,
than
he's
he was
playing
last
historical. It's not
You know,
great.
like the hardest thing is, and to Mike T's credit, Jayden Daniels is transformational for the Washington Commanders. Jayden Daniels is playing MVP caliber ball. But the problem is you don't get to win it because you're playing MVP caliber ball. You have to actually be the best player in football, affecting your team in the way that Lamar Jackson is affecting his team. There's a saying, it says, don't get weary in well-doing. Because what Lamar Jackson is doing is you're looking at it and you're saying to yourself, Lamar Jackson has already transformed this organization, right? When Joe Flacco went out, he transformed it as a rookie, and then he got better and he won the MVP the next year. And we watched him win the MVP last year. And he's playing better than he ever has in his entire life. And we're going to say that that guy doesn't deserve the MVP because his team didn't suck last year. But if you look at everything around him, especially defensively, this team is worse. Right. He's had to do more for them to get to 7 wins this year than he ever has any other year in his life. And to me, right now, you can't say that Lamar Jackson isn't the best player in the world and the best player for this season to win the MVP.
Can I ask you a question? Is Jayden Daniels playing better than C.J. Stroud played last year?
Yo, C.J. Stroud should have been the MVP.
Ask the court, yes or no?
Comparable.
I want the truth.
They're comparable.
You can't handle the truth.
So they're comparable to last year, right?
Yep.
And C.J. Stroud lost to who?
Lamar Jackson.
And Lamar Jackson playing better than
Lamar Jackson lost to Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, case closed.
I'm not taking anything away from Lamar.
Your case could be really
you
stronger.
want me in that hole like
next Friday. Your case could be even stronger next
need
Friday.
me in that hole.
Jayden Daniels beats the Steelers and the Eagles in the next 5 days.
That's exactly right.
It can change. Your argument could build here. Put a pin in that.
But the other piece of it is too, though, Kev. Like, yes, if they win those games because the teams play better than those 2 teams, he continues to be in the conversation. But Lamar Jackson would have to fall off from his level of play right now because he's playing so well.
Philadelphia, they've won 4 straight. Jalen Hurts has been fantastic. But there are a lot of people, including myself, that believe the head coach is the weakest link in Nick Sirianni. When you think about the big picture, do you consider Sirianni the weakest link?
I don't want to call him the weakest link. That sounds so terrible. I do believe that he's done some questionable things this year based on his leadership. When you think about some of the antics on the sideline, and it almost seems that he's chasing something emotionally with the way he makes decisions throughout games. And I think Nick Sirianni, I think it was Dan that may have said this morning on the call something about his level of maturity.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's Nick Sirianni having to figure out that, look, you have a team with the talent to win. You don't have to go out and do things to try to, whether it's empower yourself or them. You need to make the right decisions. And the one thing that's not going to happen throughout this year, he isn't going to get that third down back that Saquon Barkley dropped the ball against the Atlanta Falcons. You're not going to get that play back by continuing to be aggressive in situations where you shouldn't.
Yeah. I had a chance to talk to Nick yesterday, and because I'm covering this game this weekend in Dallas. He stands by all, look, the tush pushes were not working. Jacksonville did a good job stopping them. That's why we called a different play when we were on 4th and short later in the game. Like he has a rationale for it, and he keeps getting back to what he says, in the press conferences, which is it's about the belief he has in his players, and he's standing by that. And it seems to be resonating in the locker room. It seems like his players like him and gravitate toward it. They're 6-2. I mean, I don't know that there's ever been a 6-2 coach that's been catching this much heat, honestly. Like, I think it's, I don't know. The 4th down calls are not going well.
No, it's George Costanza.
Wait, hold on. Let me push back on that. When I ran a team, in our draft room, we had a sign, "In God we trust, for everyone else we need data."
Right.
And that stood for a data and a process-driven approach. And over a period of time, if Nick Sirianni has a process and he's following the data, he believes it's going to work out. There will be obviously aberrational situations. This play doesn't work, that play doesn't work. But over a period of time, these decisions are based on research and data. And the other thing I would just say is, he's 40-19. I've been involved in hiring 4 different head coaches. It is hard to hire a head coach. In Jacksonville, it would be Sirianni Boulevard. In Carolina, they would be naming kids.
But I will say a lot of that is because of the talent that Howie Roseman has built with this roster. Sometimes the talent is overcoming the decision making, and it's not just one game.
But to Mike T's point, and that is one of the things that Sirianni said when I was talking to him yesterday. He said, if you look at it, since I've been here, we're plus 41 going for it on 4th down and minus 15, on field goals, so plus 26 overall, and so he is approaching it that way. Like the individual decisions are going to get nitpicked and criticized, and he understands that. He said, I tell my players to block out the outside noise, good and bad, so I feel like I got to set a good example and do the same thing. But he's talking about if we believe in this and we do it steadily over a period of time, we'll win more than we lose, and he has.
It's just not one game, though, guys. But if you just look at the Jacksonville game, just understand this. That game should have been done midway through the third quarter. Yeah. Jacksonville had less than 40 yards of offense. You keep a bad team alive with Trevor Lawrence, and then suddenly Nakobe Dean has to make the greatest catch of his life to keep that team winning that game because you go for a 57-yard field goal instead of having the team drive 75 to 80 yards. That is against analytics, by the way. That call was egregious. You punt the ball.
Hey, by the way, I'm not sure if you people at home know this.
It's a lot of emotion.
Kev is a Philadelphia Eagles.
I am probably the most rational Eagles fan out there.
That's an oxymoron. That's an oxymoron.
This is ridiculous. 57 yards. He's coming in cold, and you got to drive the field in a bad Jacksonville team. Now you're giving them the short field for the score, potentially?
Listen, you sound real emotional
because
right now. You like Ralph Tran right now.
A year ago at 10-1, we still felt awful.
Okay.
Because the coaches, he was making bad decisions. Some of these decisions have been awful, and they've been building up over. It's not one game. It's not one decision. This is going to bite them in a playoff game against a very good coach.
Hey, Carl Thomas had a great album called Emotion.
Oh, man. Give me the sweater neck. I'm ready to go and sing that and stare at a screen.
Do you feel better?
He can be Petty Baker at times. I'll give you that.
Yeah, yes.
But that's fine, though. Like, long as his team responds to it, right? We talk about Riverboat Ryan and going for it on 4th down. Last night, Zach Taylor went for it on 4th down against the #1 offense and gave the Ravens a short field. Like, you have to own these decisions. As long as my team is on board, I don't care what people outside of that building care about.
The team wasn't on board a year ago when they were
I'm talking about right now. This is a team that would be 7-1 if Saquon Barkley catches the football. This team is playing at a high level. This team is adjusted. They're playing efficient football. You can't blame us on Nick Sirianni.
They would have been 7-1 if the coach made the right decision.
No, you don't make them all. You don't make all the right decisions.
They would have been 7-1.
You don't make all the right decisions.
Okay, I agree.
I do think you can obviously critique and sort of like nitpick
the result
decision based on the result. I felt like what they did against Atlanta was the correct decision that night. You look at some of the things against Jacksonville I disagree with, but that's the way that he coaches this team. And Saquon Barkley told me personally, the things that Nick decides to do, the way that he behaves, he's the energy in this building, and they feed off of it. And as long as you're winning, I think it works. We'll see what happens if adversity strikes.
Can we clip this? Can we clip this whole segment and run him back in January in a close game when he does something like dumb?
When you're saying we now, you're talking about the show.
Yeah, the show.
I just want to make sure, because we is doing a lot.